Burnout. We've all experienced it from time to time. I know I have. Burnout prevents us from becoming the person and the leader we were meant to be. So today I want to talk about burnout, how to recognize it, how to deal with it, and how to prevent it. Joining me today is Naheemah McMicheaux-McCallop, an organizational psychologist and a disruptor on purpose. She's on a mission to end generational burnout. But before we get started, you know the drill. Hit the subscribe button and click the bell so you'll be notified when any new videos are posted. Now, let's get to today's episode on burnout. I spent nearly 40 years in TV news, and I did not know
Yeah.
I was burned out until after I left, and my body was like, "Wow, is this normal?"
Yeah.
Right? Now, do you hear that all the time?
At 99.9% of the time, that is exactly what I hear. We, especially as Black women, have normalized burnout. And there's actually a study that was conducted a few years back. And through that study, it was found that 88% of Black women say that they are burnt out all the time.
Wow.
All the time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's just this, like I said, it's become normalized where we don't even realize that we're burnt out.
Right. Right. So let's back up. I'm sure no one needs a definition of burnout
Mhm.
because we feel, but I want you to give me a definition of burnout.
Mm, that is so good. So, burnout, I would describe it as that feeling where you lose your enthusiasm for work,
Mm-hmm.
um, even the things that you used to enjoy, you don't really enjoy them anymore. You
Mm-hmm.
find yourself more lethargic and tired, but you're not exactly sure why.
Mm-hmm.
And you find yourself coming to this place where honestly, you're just not happy.
Right. And there's nothing you can't mani, pedi,
No,
hair, retail therapy. You can't do any of those things to relieve those feelings.
no, no,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
no, because it's temporary. Those are all temporary solutions for a long term issue that we need to find a sustainable solution for.
So, why do you think women, and particularly Black women, why do you think we shove it down,
Mm,
dismiss it? Why we kind of shake it off?
yeah.
You know what, the phrase that comes to mind: keep it
Mm-hmm.
moving, keep it
Mm-hmm.
moving. Why do
Mm-hmm.
we do that?
Yeah. You know, that's a great question. And you're so right with that keep it moving. It's one of the things that we learned as Black women. It was modeled for us systemically. Society has created that pathway. And again, when we think about like our moms and our grandmas, they didn't have the ability to pause, right? Self care
Right.
was not even a conversation. So they had to keep it moving, they had to keep pushing because it
Hmm.
was a matter of livelihood. So when we think about that today, it's different circumstance, right?
Hmm.
We're in a place today where we don't have the same everyday challenges that
Hmm.
our moms or our grandmothers or our great grandmothers experienced through slavery, right?
Hmm.
So now we have the decision to say, well, what are we going to do that's different?
Hmm.
Yes, we are still carrying such a heavy load as Black women. And yet at the same time, we are also empowered to know that we can shift our narrative because we
Hmm.
don't have to do it the same way.
Right.
And that's the biggest difference right there, is that
Right.
we don't have to do it the same way. And instead of doing what was modeled for us, right, which was to keep pushing no matter what, even when you're exhausted and your body is telling you, if you don't sit down, I'm going to sit you down.
Right. Right.
We have
That's
the
definitely
choice.
Yes.
listen to me and majority of my clients. But we have the choice to check in. We have the choice to do what I call a divine pause. We have the
Mhm.
choice to say, you know what, I'm not going to ignore what my body, mind, and spirit is telling me, but I'm going to choose to check in with myself and listen.
So you gave me a statistic just a few minutes ago. You said 88% of the African American women
Mm-hmm.
said that they were burned out.
Mm-hmm.
And we have the choice. I understand that. But what struck me about that number was that 88%, and I'm included,
Yeah,
communicated that to our daughters,
that's right.
right? So where does this cycle end? Because we are still stuck in that cycle.
Yeah. You know, it ends with us.
Mhm.
It ends with each individual saying that I am choosing to give myself permission. It's not something that I need to ask for. It's not something that I need to earn.
Mhm.
I am going to give myself permission to live in a space where I can live well. And that's from the inside out to the outside in.
Right, right, right. I'm sure that when you're coaching women, this is a hard concept to get across,
Mm-hmm.
right? It sounds really easy. It
Mm-hmm.
sounds, very empowering. I can hear some of my clients going, "Yeah, yeah," but then they go right out the door, right? Right?
Yeah.
Go right out the door and do the same thing.
Yeah.
Why is it so hard for us to accept that we are worthy of that?
Mm, that's a great question. Well, when we think about society, we
Mhm.
live in a world that, especially as Black women, has told us everything about ourselves is wrong. The way we look is wrong. The way our hair is wrong.
Mhm.
Our body shape is wrong. What we do is wrong. So we need to unlearn
Oh, that
those limiting beliefs, right?
yeah.
We have to decide to rewrite that narrative. And
Mhm.
instead of playing that narrative in our minds and letting it ruminate and start living into it, we have to take agency and ownership of ourselves. One of the
Mhm.
things I always say is, Queen, before you can liberate others, you got to liberate yourself.
Mm.
And that's this right here. Before we can liberate anybody else, we got to liberate ourselves. And I'm going
Mhm.
to go back to our mind, body, and spirit.
Mhm.
So it's us deciding that, you know what? That's not my truth.
Mhm.
That's not my truth. I am worthy. I am intelligent. I am capable. I don't need to earn rest, right?
Mhm.
Rest isn't based on my productivity. So it, and I want to say this too, because it also takes time. These are not shifts that happen overnight. This
Mhm.
is doing the beautiful,
Mhm.
deeper inner work that shifts legacies. But again, I'm going to say it starts with us as individuals first.
So how do we start the shift?
Mm,
How do we, and what I loved is you started with some I ams because I am a firm believer in I ams.
mm-hmm.
We may not be where we want to be when we start I ams, but we
Yeah,
catch up to the I am, if that makes any
yeah,
sense.
yeah.
But how do we start this process of unlearning the limiting beliefs that have been passed down to us?
Yeah. So we start this journey by self reflection and self awareness. And so, what that means is we have to pause and take a minute and see, what am I believing about myself? and start there. What am
Mhm.
I even, and this piece is so crucial and critical with my clients, is what am I saying to myself?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. What's the
Mhm.
conversation that I'm having with me every day? Forget,
Mhm.
what other people are saying. What am I saying to myself?
Right. Right.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. And so when we take that pause to evaluate the conversations that we're having with our own selves and then say, well, one, how is this helping me?
Mhm.
You know,
Mhm.
and two, is this really my truth? Is this really who I am?
Mhm.
And so then it's that process of saying, okay, well, this is, if this is not my truth, then what is my truth? And that's like the beginning of this beautiful journey of self-discovery and
Yeah.
beautiful journey of us as Black women standing in and walking into our liberation,
Mhm.
because truly we're coming back to who we are and always
Right.
been, which is amazing, phenomenal, intelligent, capable, worthy,
Mhm.
abundant Black women.
Mhm. When you said, what are we saying to ourselves?
Mhm.
That negative loop starts instantly as soon as
Yeah.
our eyes open. It starts instantly, and we start just, you're already behind. The second you wake up, you think, oh my gosh, I didn't do boom, I didn't do this, I did, and then that negative stuff kicks in. You're always late, or you're always blah blah blah, you're always whatever. And it's so much easier to accept the negative than it is to accept the positive. Yeah,
It
so that whole self-reflection, I have found, takes time, because one, you don't want to admit that you really say those things to yourself. you
Yeah, that's
know?
true.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay, so the first step is self-reflection and getting real with what I'm saying to myself. What's
Mm-hmm.
the next step?
Yeah. So, one more thing that I want to add to that self reflection and getting real and honest, right? And I mean like radical honesty, right?
Mhm.
And really learning how to befriend ourselves.
Oh, wow. Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And, so often we're looking at the exterior relationships that we have with people, but we're not really evaluating the relationship that we have with ourselves.
Right.
Because oftentimes the relationship we have with ourselves, we probably wouldn't have with another person.
Right. Right. And we
So,
wouldn't say the things we say to ourselves to somebody else.
exactly, let alone our children or encourage them to say those things.
Right.
So that's why I wanted to emphasize befriending, right? And being in relationship, learning how to connect in, as I call it, yeah,
Mhm.
with ourselves and to listen and be compassionate with ourselves and to
Yeah.
give ourselves grace and even
Mhm.
to give ourselves honor. What does that mean to even honor ourselves and who
Mhm.
I am as a person, as a human being, not based on all these accolades or accomplishments or titles of, I'm this or I'm that, but just you
Mhm.
and all of you.
Mhm.
So then the second thing is where I would take a client and they would learn the practice, the daily practice of a divine pause. And like I mentioned before, divine pause it's a practice, it's a lifestyle, and it's a movement. And
Mhm.
why is a divine pause so important? It's because it teaches us as Black women what we weren't taught, which is how to self-care.
Mhm. Yes, and I think that too many of us think the self-care is the mani, the pedi, the new hairdo, maybe some new makeup, whatever. It's all the superficial outward things that you do to yourself, right? And we think we have self-cared, and we're confused on why that didn't fix it, right?
Most definitely. Yes, because again, those are all temporary.
Mhm.
And don't get me wrong, I love getting my hair done.
I love it.
Okay. I love getting my nails done. I
Love
love
it.
taking a bath.
Love
And
it.
my baths are luxurious. Like I have
Mhm,
my candles, my
mhm.
salts, my music, like all the things, right?
Yeah, right.
But that's temporary
Mhm,
because at the same time, if my relationship with myself is not what I want it to be, I'm still coming back to me after
mhm.
even that vacation,
Right.
after I get my hair done, after that mani pedi. So, what I teach with the divine pause is how to learn to connect in with ourselves. Because
Mhm,
I think that's the key right there is that we don't know how to do that. And so we go to like a mani or pedi thinking, well, that's me connecting with myself.
mhm,
That's me, befriending myself. Yes, it's a part of it.
mhm,
But if we're not giving ourselves these essentials, and I call these essentials, breaking it down into the areas of physical self care, emotional self care,
mhm,
mental self care, and spiritual self care. And so
mhm.
I'll give you a quick breakdown right here.
Okay.
When we take that moment, and this is something that can be done, like I said, it's a daily practice at anytime, whenever you're feeling anxious, stressed, overwhelmed, the first thing that we do to learn how to connect with ourselves is just to pause.
Mhm,
Take that moment to pause and to breathe. Because by doing that one simple thing, what we're learning how to do is to regulate our nervous system.
okay.
And with our nervous system, we want to be in a parasympathetic 80% of the time,
Mhm,
sympathetic 20% of the time. So, what does that mean? Sympathetic means we're in fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. Parasympathetic, we're in calm, peace, right? That space where we feel like, whew, I can just breathe, like, I got this.
mhm.
And so, if we don't know how to regulate our nervous system, we're not going to get to that space of inner peace and calm and tranquility. So that's just step number one is learn how to pause and just breathe to regulate your nervous system on your own.
Mhm.
Second thing is by asking ourselves, going back to the self-reflection, because if we're connecting in, then that means we're listening to ourselves. But sometimes we don't know the questions to ask ourselves to really get to the heart and the root of what
Mhm,
we need.
mhm.
And so one of those questions is simply, do I feel rested? Do I feel rested? With that, we're able to pinpoint, okay, well, you know what? I don't feel rested. I am tired.
Mhm, mhm,
I did not get enough sleep. So
mhm.
if we can just change and shift and make micro habits, it helps it to become sustainable change,
Yes.
right?
Mhm,
That's one thing right there.
mhm.
Second thing is asking ourselves, and again, these are self-reflection questions, divine pause moments that we can do at any time, is am I leaning in to support my own needs? And
Oh,
this hits to the heart of emotional
mm,
wellness and self-care.
mhm.
Because what we know is as Black women, how often are we supporting somebody else saying, oh, yes, yes, I got
Yes.
you.
Yes.
When we know we need to sit down.
Right. 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 Absolutely. Absolutely. We become the yes girl.
Exactly.
Become the yes
Exactly.
girl, and we become the place where people dump their garbage,
Yeah. Yeah.
their emotional garbage, because they know that we're going to be sympathetic, we're going
Yeah.
to, we're gonna stop and pause, and part of it is because we're running from ourselves as well,
Exactly.
right? So we run from ourselves and we think, "Oh, I gotta help Susie, and I have to help this person," but
Yeah.
really what you're doing is running from yourself.
Exactly. Because we haven't taken the time to divine pause to help our own selves.
Right.
And this is that befriending.
Right. And do you find that some women find divine pause scary?
Ye- Um, I'm gonna say yes,
Yeah.
in all honesty, and I'll tell you why. It's not so much because of the practice, because the practice simplifies it, right? It takes some of that anxiety around feeling like you're doing self-care wrong out.
Mhm,
But what it does do is it teaches you how to be still and present in the moment with yourself. And
mhm,
that goes back to what you just said, which is oftentimes we're running from ourselves.
mhm, mhm. Yeah,
And
I feel
mhm,
like I ran for myself for a long time, and even
oof,
when I knew that my season of being in TV news was over,
yeah,
right? I
hmm
was still stuck in the, "Well, if I'm not the blah, blah, blah of the blah, 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 who am I?"
that part.
And I hear that all the time from women,
Mhm.
particularly when their kids leave.
Yeah.
And then it's like, "Well, I don't have to go to soccer practice and football practice, and I don't have
hmm
to do, this, that, and the other
hmm
thing. Well,
hmm
who am I?" And they look
hmm
over and they see their partner or their spouse or,
hmm
their significant other, and and
hmm
they go, "Well, who are you?"
Right.
You know?
Right. Yeah. No, I absolutely resonate with that, Connie. And I know I have gone through those moments in my life. And I'm not going to say that it's been only once,
Right.
because to be very honest and transparent, I feel like we go through those moments when we evolve,
Mhm. Yes.
and we're constantly
Absolutely.
evolving,
Constantly evolving.
constantly
Right.
evolving.
And
And
that
so,
makes that makes divine pause more important. Like,
yes,
it just continues to grow because
yes,
as you grow, and
yes,
it's almost like shedding a skin. It's like you grow
yes,
and you shed that skin, you gotta
yeah,
take a pause, and you gotta
yes,
go, "Okay, am I going in the direction I want to go?
yes,
Am I
yeah,
becoming?"
yes. Oh,
Yeah.
yes, absolutely. One of the things I say is that we are the evolution of
Mhm,
our becoming. And I
mhm,
love how you use the word, it's shedding that skin. And it's true, right?
mhm.
Because how, and I will say, actually, I'm going to say this a little differently, is do we want to take the old into the new?
Yeah.
No. And so, what Divine Pause does is it gives us that space to check in with ourselves and decide, what do I need and want to leave and release so I can move forward with my new?
Right. And it's not just you. What
Yeah.
I have found is, who do I want to
Ooh,
release and move into my new with,
yes.
you know?
Yes. Yes.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
huge on who is in your inner circle.
Yes.
Who is in
Agreed.
that to me is a form of self-care.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. I agree. Community is so important, right?
absolutely.
It's like
Mm,
that saying goes, right? Show me who your closest five friends are, and I'll tell you who
yeah,
you are, right?
yes,
So yeah,
yes.
and that's one thing too that I want to emphasize with self care is that it's individual and
Mhm,
it's collective,
mhm,
because there's so much healing in community when we're in a safe community. So I want to have that caveat, right?
mm,
When we're in a safe community of like-minded humans, it is healing
yes,
because
yeah,
we're able to see ourselves through
yes.
them.
Mhm. And it's healing without even having to speak words.
Yes.
That's
Mm-hmm.
what I love about it. When I think about my inner circle, sometimes we
Mm-hmm.
just sit and be.
Mm-hmm.
That's all, that I need to communicate to them is that I will sit and be with you.
That's
That's
it.
it.
Yep.
And they will sit and be with me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And that's also why, sisterhood is so important. And we emphasize that in the Divine Pause community, is that we need each other.
Hmm.
And that is the opposite from what we hear in society with individualism rampant, right? No, we're saying the opposite. We're saying that let's move into collectivity where we can do more together.
Yeah. I hate that in corporate America, that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
It's pulling somebody down to
Yeah.
push yourself up.
Yeah.
And there's this feeling that we're all in competition with each other when that's not true.
No, we're
That's a
not.
way for them, to keep us divided and
Yes.
and controlled,
Yeah,
right? And
absolutely.
controlled.
Yeah.
Because, once you start thinking that there's enough sky for all of us,
Hmm.
and you
There
start
is.
working together and collaborating,
Yeah,
the less you are susceptible to somebody taking advantage of you for whatever reason, you know?
absolutely. I
Yeah.
completely agree. I literally was just speaking um, at an event yesterday on abundance and
Mhm,
abundance mindset and how to walk into that. And that's what I want to emphasize that word, because that's what you're saying. How do we
mhm,
walk into our abundance? And one of the things I shared yesterday is first knowing that abundance is your birthright,
mhm, mm,
period.
yeah,
And sometimes when we don't understand that it's our birthright, we have to, or we have the opportunity to pause and reflect on, how am I defining abundance in my life?
yeah,
What narrative am I giving it? And then decide to redefine it.
yes.
Yeah.
I'm all about changing definitions
Yeah.
because I think I'm reminded of, Malcolm X where he says, "We've been bamboozled."
Okay.
We've been bamboozled here, because you're handed a narrative on what is success. What does
Yeah.
that look like for you? And
Yeah.
typically it looks like, a 100-hour week, or you
Okay.
pull somebody else down to win. It looks
Mm-hmm.
like, you not taking care of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It has, so you have to go in and define those. What does success mean? What does
Yes.
abundance mean?
Yes. Yeah.
Abundance isn't just what's in my bank account.
Yes. Right.
And we've been trained to think that's what it's all about,
Yeah. I
you know?
agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Like abundance is, it's holistic. It's not just your wealth, it's your well-being.
Yes.
Because what we know is health is wealth. If we're
Yes.
not healthy, how do we get to
Yes. And it's not
the
until you
prosperity?
exactly, and it's not until you are sick, then you go, "Whoa,
Yeah.
I had it all when I had my health, and now
Yes.
I don't have my health, and I've gotta go back to square one.
Yeah.
I've gotta heal." That's how I felt when I left corporate America because
Mm-hmm.
I was overweight.
Mm.
Um, I was I was burdened. I
Yeah.
was weighed down not just by the weight.
Yeah.
The weight was just an outward manifestation of the weight
Right.
inside. Yeah.
Right.
And so
Right.
then when I started thinking, I'm not that person, I took on a
Mm.
new identity. And you know what? I want to go back to what you said. It was tiny steps. I said to
Yes.
myself, I am a healthy, lean person. I start with my I ams. And then I was like,
Yeah.
well, I'm a healthy, lean person. What does that person do?
Okay.
And then okay, so then I started one thing and
Mm-hmm.
then I built on that and then I
Mm-hmm.
built on that. And I don't
Mm-hmm.
think people really understand the significance of the little steps.
Yes. I absolutely agree with you. And again, going back to divine pause, that is part of what it's based on. It's the
Yeah.
self reflection and it's the micro habits, right? It's just the little changes at a time that become bigger changes. And that's how we're able to create sustainability. And
Yeah.
that's why, again, going back to, okay, me getting my nails done, my mani pedi, my hair, it's
Sure.
not sustainable in reference to actually nurturing and nourishing myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
one of the things that helped me was journaling.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Talk a little
Yes.
bit about that.
Oh, I'm so big on journaling. Well, one, personally, I I feel like I think I started journaling, I don't know, at like 11. So when I tell you, I pretty sure have like several books in my
Right,
journals.
right.
And it is such a cathartic
Yes,
modality, right? For mindfulness, for reflection, for self reflection, for self discovery. Um, it's one of the tools that one personally I use and I share with clients too, even in those moments where, as Black women, we get to that space where it's like, I can't take in not one more thing, right?
mhm,
I do not ask me to do
mhm,
not one more thing. And so, what I will share with a client as an exercise is to journal,
mhm.
because what we have the opportunity to do in those moments is to get it all out. And
Get
sometimes we don't know what to say, right? But
yes,
if we can just say it on paper,
yes,
and there's no specific order, we're just going to do free write, a brain
yes,
dump, just
yeah,
get it out
yes,
and let it be free.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
Um, I had a yoga instructor say that at the first page of her book is,
Mhm.
please do not read this because you will not have the context of why I sat down and wrote this. And she said if
Mhm.
anything ever happened, she didn't want her, like her daughters to come and read it. They
Mhm.
may have been mentioned in it, or her husband may have been mentioned in it, but without somebody there to explain what they were feeling, you
Yeah.
walk away with a whole different,
Yes.
interpretation. And I know
Yeah.
recently I said to my sister, you know, it may sound morbid, but I said, if anything happens, don't read any of my journals. Just burn them. Just burn them. I'm not ashamed of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just like you said, there were days when I was just so low that the
Yeah.
only thing I could do was to get it out
Yeah.
of my system.
Yes. Yes.
And
Absolutely.
so it was a dump there. But you know
Mhm.
what I love about my journals is I'll go back and read them and I'll
Yeah.
think, wow, you were there.
Yeah.
And I want to say, again, may sound strange, but I
Mhm.
want to say thank you to that Connie,
Yes. Mhm.
because she got me here,
That's right.
you know?
That's right. Absolutely. And I love that so much, Connie, because that's so important in giving ourselves the grace and compassion and the honor, right? To
Mhm.
honor our journey, because
Yes,
nobody is going to live our journey except for us.
right.
And if we can't be compassionate with ourselves, with be compassionate about our journey, right?
Mhm.
Who is?
And respect our journey, and
Respect
and
it.
respect it, and not only that, we should be the ones who write the narrative of our journey.
Absolutely.
We should
2000% agree.
not allow somebody else to look at our journey and say, "Well, it was whatever."
Hmm. Hmm. I agree. No, rewrite the story.
Yeah.
We decide who we're going to be and who we're going to become. And
Yes.
if we're going to give ourselves the permission to be
Mm,
that, because I emphasize the word permission because I say permission is the number one challenge we as Black women face, is,
yes.
are we going to give ourselves the permission to rest, right? The permission to redefine what success is, what rest is, to give ourselves the permission to rewrite our story.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. I don't know why it's so difficult for us. The only thing more difficult, I'm
Hmm.
going to challenge you. The only
Okay.
thing more difficult than giving ourselves permission is knowing how and when to say no.
Mm.
Because
Well,
we
I would
just,
say that goes back to permission, because we
oh,
are we going to
that's,
give ourselves permission to
yes,
say no?
yes,
Yeah.
yeah. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. It goes back to permission.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, are we going to give ourselves permission to set those healthy boundaries, to let our no be no and our yes be yes?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And not have to, you know, explain or plead or
Mm-mm.
any of that stuff. Yeah.
Mm-mm. Like the saying goes, right? No is a full sentence. And I
Exactly.
believe that. I stand on it.
Exactly. So, what would you say to a woman who has a daughter
Mm-hmm.
because they don't hear us as much as they
See,
watch us.
that's right. That's right.
So, what would you say?
Yeah. Well, one, I'm a mom
Okay.
of a Black girl and a
Mhm.
Black son. And
Wow. Because
yes.
let me just interrupt you. It's not just what you say to her,
Mm-hmm.
what you say to him,
Absolutely.
because he has to support her. You see
That's
what I'm
right.
saying?
That's right.
It
That's right.
ain't just you know,
No, it goes
yeah,
hand in hand.
it goes hand in hand.
And so, and that's why I say, self-care is it's a community,
Yeah.
because by me modeling and talking, I have conversations with my kids.
Mhm.
I let them know, what, when I need to sit down and mommy needs a nap, I let them know mommy's gonna go take her a nap because she's tired. But I give them space, and I say this because I have intentional conversations, because I want them to know that they have full permission to walk into their own well being. They have full permission to nourish themselves. And I want them to see their mommy doing that.
Mhm.
Because again, me giving myself permission to do it gives them permission to do it. And
Mhm.
that is how we shift legacy, by what we model and the conversations. And I'll put this word in there, intentional
Mhm.
conversations that
Mhm.
we have with our children.
Mhm. Mhm.
Mhm.
I had a gut punch when, I was talking to my little nephew. He's the only child we have in the family. He's 20 now.
Mm,
But when he was way younger, we were having a conversation, and, I was a TV news executive,
mhm.
and, he said, "One day I'm gonna have a good job." And so I thought, "Okay, I'm gonna jump in here, and he's gonna tell me how great my job is,
Uh-huh. Yes.
how great I am." Okay, so
Uh-huh.
I'm all into this conversation, and I said, "Really? Do you think my job is great?" And he said, "No,
Mm,
not great. You're always tired, and you're never
mhm,
here. You always have to work, and
mm,
you're just in essence, you saying you're just not present."
mm,
And that was a gut punch,
mm.
because I thought I was modeling something totally different. I thought I
Yeah.
was modeling a work ethic.
Yeah.
I thought I was modeling, success,
Yeah.
and that's one of the times when I thought, "You got this all wrong.
Mm,
You got this all wrong."
mhm. Yeah.
The most important people in your family,
Yeah.
have come second to a
Yeah.
career.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. That's so powerful. And I just want to just witness you and say, I resonate, and I've been there myself.
yeah,
And you're not alone in that, because I'm sure the majority of the listeners who hear this will say the same, is
yeah,
that we navigate and live our lives based on a standard for our lives that we did not write.
right, right.
And
So go ahead.
oh no, I was going to say we didn't write. And
Mhm,
so that's why, one, in choosing to make this practice of a divine pause a lifestyle, we're able to, one, check in with ourselves, right? To learn how to be still, to connect in.
mhm,
But then also with that, decide to write the narrative that we want.
Mhm.
because we're choosing to live a lifestyle that we want and we decide.
Mhm. Mhm. And one thing that I wanna make sure that people walk away with is you can tell the stories of what happened, like, I can tell that story now, and I'm
Yeah.
okay,
Mm-hmm.
right? I'm not gonna
Mm-hmm.
use it to beat myself up with.
That part.
So
Yes.
don't look back on your past or whatever it is you did as a tool to beat yourself
Yeah.
up. Say, "Oh, how blah, blah, blah you were, and how this isn't the future isn't gonna change because you were so blah, blah." You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I
Because we'll
agree.
that's part of the reason why we don't wanna look back because it's like, I don't wanna touch that. It's almost like the 3rd rail. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't wanna touch that again. But in touching that is where you get your power.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I forget where I heard this from, but I used it because it was so profound when I heard this. And so I want to share it with your audience is that we can't heal what we choose not to feel.
Mm.
We have to touch
Yes.
those pieces, right? To be able to transcend them, to
Mhm,
release them and move through
mhm,
them.
mhm.
Because if we don't, then we're giving it a power that
Yeah,
keeps us
yes.
stuck.
Mhm, mhm. And I think the key in what you said is release
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Going back to my yoga, instructor, she said one day, um, to when I think of somebody who I'm like, "Arr," she's like she said, "Say, I give you peace,
Yes.
I give you love, I
Yeah.
give you release,"
Yeah.
and you let that
Mhm.
person go.
Yeah.
With the best intentions, no hard
Mhm.
feelings, whatever happened, happened, but I give
Mhm.
all that to you so that you can go.
That's right.
And that's really what you want. It's not, and I think a lot of people think, "Well, I'm not releasing that person because da,
Mhm.
da, da," it's almost like I'm not gonna forgive that person because
Mhm.
it was so horrific or what they did, but you're the one drinking the poison.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah. I agree. I always say, forgiveness, it's not about them.
right, right,
It's about me. It's
right.
about me because they're going on about their business while I'm harboring all these feelings, having these conversations with myself about what they did and ruminating and going back to the past
I should have
where
said this to them.
right,
Like,
right,
the
where
conversation was 3 years ago.
exactly 3, 10, 20. Like, no, forgiveness is about me being able to release it and not give it the dominion and authority or power that it had in my life. It's about us choosing to take our power back.
Right.
Yeah.
Are you hopeful? Are you hopeful that we are slowly getting the message?
Mm, I am. I
Okay.
am. I am hopeful that we are slowly getting the message. I think that we're in a beautiful time where it is our time. Mhm.
Mhm.
It is our time, especially as Black women, to take our power back,
Yeah.
walk in our dominion, walk in our royalty, right? Walk in our grace, walk in all of who we are,
Mhm.
and to do it from a place of well being.
Wow, what an interview. There were so many things that resonated with me. I'm wondering what resonated with you. Please comment below. And if you have any questions, leave them below as well, and I will make sure that I follow up. Thanks for watching, and just another reminder to hit the subscribe button and click the bell so you'll be notified when any new videos are posted. Thanks again, and I'll see you next week.